Here we go. Well, you already know, my name is Jacinda. My pronouns are she and her. I'm hail from the 216, great place of Cleveland, Ohio. I know, I'm glad to see my Cleveland folks here. Thank you, because I'm gonna need your energy today. But today I'm here to talk to you about my mentees, and these are them. My mentees are some amazingly awesome, talented, inquisitive, creative young people. We've done some amazing things throughout the time that we've worked together. You know, they have such a thirst for knowledge. It deeply, deeply, deeply resonates with me. And the best thing about having these young people in my life is that from years and years and years of being the only Black designer, I wasn't alone anymore. We went to networking events together. We had lunches with the mayor. We even got to meet an Adobe evangelist. I was able to mentor them through writing resumes, learning how to interview, creating portfolios, professional development, and my ultimate favorite, situations and scenarios. Right? Situations and scenarios. And for a very, very, very long time, it was just me working to make my mentees' design journeys better than mine. They're all grown up now. They are male and female. They are Black, white, Latina, biracial, amazing young adults. This summer, many of them came back to celebrate my 5th year anniversary operating and owning Design Explorer. Shown here from left to right are Elena, Sonia, Ashley, Kennedy, Shamari, William, Carissa, Hannah, and Alicia. Let's give it up for them real fast. I would love to take a few seconds, 53 actually, to show what we've been working on for the last 5 years.
Introduce to you the tube sucker.
Design Explorer is a social impact organization whose mission aims to diversify the design profession by increasing access to design education for youth and raise awareness within corporate organizations. We do this work through collaborations that develop youth activities, coordinate diversity building initiatives, and connect stakeholders to resources.
And right for you.
Wow, I think there might be a market for this.
Our #1 design goal is to empower today's youth with real-world skills, connections, and opportunities so that tomorrow's design profession has all of the best people leading the way.
So our notable milestones, I've done more than 300 of these talks throughout the United States. I've had an opportunity to meet many of you in your own respective cities. To date, more than 2,700 people have downloaded my 293-page rant about the lack of diversity in design disciplines. But the number that I'm most pleased with, the number that really just does my heart proud, is that we have reached more than 5,500 students across the United States, exposing them to design, working with them in design-related careers, activities, presentations, camp, indoors, outdoors, outside, in the basement, in the parking lot, and even in the church. Now, Design Explorer originates from my solutions-based thesis, which introduces the Design Journey Map framework. It presents 15 strategic ideas to expose Black and Latino youth to design careers, and it has identified 4 design principles that reveal the solution to closing the diversity gap in design disciplines. Studying this, along with several other socioeconomical as well as sociocultural issues, it's brought me to realize that there really isn't one problem. And ultimately, this is why I think we haven't solved it still. We keep treating this thing like it's a little one thing we just need to put some more people in the pipeline. We just need to hire more. We need to be able to go have more in schools and enrolled in colleges. But ultimately, if you really, really think about it, the lack of diversity in design is not one problem. It is a multitude of problems that happen along the journey. So depending on where you are in your journey is the problem that you're having. Your problem might be related to access, if you're in the foundations passage. If you are in the workforce, it might be attached to opportunity. It could also be attached to value. But ultimately, what we want to be able to do is to have these things overlap so that we can receive the benefit of the exposure. Now, this is a three-legged stool. You can't have access without opportunity. You can't talk about value without access. So unfortunately, for this to really, really work, we have to have all four of these all overlapping together. Now, the lack of diversity in design throughout my research work, I found that it begins at this critical point in our history in the United States during JFK's presidency. Now, after segregation and investigations about racial inequities, JFK begins having conversations with many leaders throughout the United States and officials to get input and support for what he has called a civil rights bill. Now, on June 11th, 1963, the University of Alabama was forced to desegregate. This is George Wallace standing in front of the schoolhouse trying to block the university's first two students from being admitted into the college. This night, Kennedy calls on the National Guard to forcibly remove this man from the door. Now that evening on national television, Kennedy goes on air. He delivers his very first speech on civil rights, referencing this moral crisis. Let me just pause real quick to let y'all know. Now, you know, this is what they called racism. So they didn't, you know, the word racism is so dirty, right? Nobody wanted to be associated with it. And so they called it a moral crisis. So when you see this referenced in our history, this is really what they're talking about. So Kennedy asked Congress to make a commitment it has not fully made in this century to the proposition that race has no place in American life or law. After the announcement, JFK spends months going back and forth with the House and with the Congress. Finally, in October, the bill passes the House Judiciary Committee. 4 weeks later, President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd in Dallas, Texas. After Kennedy's assassination, now President Lyndon B. Johnson immediately begins work to release the stalled legislation. After 8 months and several attempts to get the Civil Rights Bill passed, it is signed into legislation and it outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Now, to get the bill passed, he had to make some concessions. He had to allow women to be in the bill, who still, till this day, continue to be the biggest beneficiaries of civil rights. He had to allow religion to be admitted into the bill. And he also had to allow that any discriminatory practices or actions would be federal offenses. But it doesn't end here, ladies. It doesn't end here. After the signing, like the next day, many people thought the hard part was over, right? We'd received our civil liberties, right? But in reality, the ugliness was really just beginning. Organizations, companies, businesses, who silently opposed the new policies began affecting policies of their own, specifically targeting the folks that were just awarded their civil liberties. This practice is defined as institutionalized racism. It is the structures, policies, practices, procedures, and norms that result in differential access to the goods, services, and opportunities of society by race. Now, as institutionalized racism policies continue, this is where we really begin to see the practice of privatization in our prison systems. Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the New Age of Colorblindness, discusses race-related issues specific to African-American males and mass incarceration in the United States. Alexander's book titles that this time that we are in right now, she says, mass incarceration is metaphorically the new Jim Crow. But as I continued to research, I found this to be the most public, most important, significant mention of the lack of diversity in design. Finally, somebody says something about it. In 1968, Whitney Young here, who is the president of the National Urban League Association, he addresses the AIA about their silence in showing this moral crisis and allowing it to continue. Once there, he stood on the stage in a sea of white male faces, and he says, "You are not a profession that has distinguished itself by your social and civic contributions to the cause of civil rights. You are most distinguished by your thunderous silence."
The 1960s was a decade of enormous confrontation.
The country was in turmoil, and the architectural profession was just not doing anything to advance civil rights in the country. And they just were silent on the whole issue. And the cities were burning.
It was very important that Whitney Young would come and address the AIA convention, at which there were very few, if any, people of color.
At the time, Whitney Young Jr. was the president of the Urban League. He was asked to come and talk about the urban environment and architecture and what AIA might be doing. He looked around the room and said, "You don't really represent the society that you're trying to serve."
Whitney Young's speech went right to the core of the way in which our profession is able to respond to our cities.
It's really a message of looking beyond the individual building. Collectively, those buildings make neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods make cities. And we are the best people in terms of qualification to make an impact and change there.
We need to rebuild our cities, and the way to rebuild them is to enfranchise the people who live in them right now.
After the conference, the AIA reacted. They then developed the first, what I love to call the first strategic initiative to address the lack of diversity in design. Now, the name of it is a little oppressive. I don't know how many people were probably running home to tell their mama they won the Minority Disadvantage Scholarship. But the scholarship was aimed to help students studying to become architects, schools and educators who were teaching students who wanted to become architecture, and in helping those who were working on their certification. Now, we continue to see this, ladies, we continue to see this. The ramifications of the Civil Rights Act, institutionalized racism, mass incarceration, they may still seem, maybe it doesn't come near us, maybe it doesn't touch us, but I'm here to let you know it does. Every day, we see these ramifications resulting in detrimental attitudes in education, discriminatory hiring practices, cultural insensitivities, and minimal diversity building initiatives. increasing the lack of diversity in design is important because it's a business strategy for more ideas, better solutions, increased innovation. It'll create opportunities for underrepresented populations, and most importantly, it will provide the characteristics to viable solutions to close the diversity gap in design disciplines. Now, a lot of people have asked me, Jacinda, how did you find this out? Because I always like to make sure that I reference, if you're looking to read a thesis that talks about the hardships, the challenges, that talks about the deep rooted angst and feeling about being a Black or a brown designer, this is not the thesis to read. You can read Cheryl Miller's, it's awesome, right? But if you are looking for solutions, if you're looking for data, if you're looking for information to create strategic initiatives of your own, this is the document for you. So a critical part was understanding what is good data, where is it, how do I find it, and even being able to repeatedly obtain it. We understand that good data is defined as facts and statistics, usually numeric, collected together for reference and analysis. Data can be used in research only after it is processed and then converted into this type of data called information. Then processed, organized, then it has a specific meaning. Good data has these 5 characteristics: accuracy, completeness, reliability, relevance, and timeliness. Using the 5 characteristics that define good data, there are about 10 sources that I typically pull data from when I'm doing these types of talks and presentations and other research projects. But today, in lieu of my time, I'm going to talk to you about my favorite 5. Ladies, if you don't got your pen and paper out, this is going to go quick. You got my time? Okay. The first one, let's get that applause, let's get that drum roll, let's get that drum roll. Yes, yes. The Census Bureau, this is the big daddy of them all, right? This is connected to the American Community Survey. This is connected to the estimating and understanding who and how many are here in this country right now. The United States Census Bureau is connected to many other sources. So when you are looking at data, you want to find out, where did it come from? Number 2, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is the organization that is responsible for mapping and charting and taking information from employers about our workforce. Number 3, NASAD, the Higher Education Data Summary. Some people call this the HEAD survey. This project is officially established in 1982, and it's a statistical system that collects, compiles, and reports data from member and non-member institutions. I just want to throw out here, this is paid data, y'all. So if you're trying to make good decisions, because we all understand what gets measured gets managed, this is $500 a pop. Right? Next up on the list is NCARB, the National Council of Architectural Registration and Boards. These are the individuals who are constantly working and helping individuals like yourselves with licensure, registration, information. They have been collecting demographic data since 1999. Last up, my favorite, Human Development Index. Now, anyone who wants to bring me back to come talk to y'all next time, call me. I got a whole talk on the Human Development Index, which is looking at how the people are doing. We all understand that GDP is gross domestic product, which really just looks at the economics. But HDI asks how are the people are doing, and it does that in 4 ways. It looks at well-being, it looks at educational enrollment, educational attainment, as well as income. And you can go to their website. It's an interactive place. You can put a zip code in and get really, really great data. They're also connected with another index called the Opportunity Index, where they literally have organized all 50 states in order of most opportunity. And I'm here to let you know Ohio is only about 28 on the list. In fact, the top 3 have been on the top 3 list for the last 5 years. I've been charting this data. But this is really what y'all called me to talk about today. This is it, this is it. I want to provide you a little context. You know, my thesis committee members, they still working with me. Don't let graduation fool you, they still with me. They helped me to understand, I need to provide you all some context to understand the gravity of these numbers that I'm about to share. We are operating with about 331 billion people. About 60 of them, 63% of them are working, unemployed, moving in and out of the workforce right now. Currently, our the professional pieces, there is 47% female. But designed by race and ethnicity, this is when it gets deep, right? Designers, Black designers, 4%. That's about 48,000 designers of this 1,211,000 self-identified designers. Now, we talked about architects, and I'm going to spend the next 5 moments talking a little bit about each profession and going a little bit deeper so you can see yourselves in these numbers. There are 212 architects. There are 32% female. Graphic designers, 271,000, 60% female. 123,000 interior designers. The profession is 84% female. Web developers, 81,000. The profession is 39% female. UX and UI designers, which the Census Bureau labels this set of individuals as web and digital interface. There are 64,000 of those. The profession, 51% female. But this is the number y'all want. 11,000 industrial designers. Now, I was late turning my slides in because I was hustling with BLS to run me my new numbers. This profession is 37% female, 95% white, 3% African-American, 9% Latino, 2% Asian. Now, I want to give you the notable facts, though. This is a lot of data. This was 30 minutes. I know I've been talking incredibly fast, but I want to leave you with a few notable numbers. You ready for it? Number 1, there is a 2% decrease in designers, in total number of designers, 2% decrease. But ladies, there is a 7% increase, come on, in female designers throughout all design disciplines. I want to let you know there are 4,070 female industrial designers. I also want to help you to understand that we are working off of 2,000 Black female architects, and the highest number of educators of color in design disciplines goes to my Asian female educators. 300. NASAC reports 300 of these, but this is not the number that we need to stand up and cheer and recognize each other for. There are 724,000 women working, creating, holding it down for all design disciplines across the country right now. Right? I hope that something I have said has sparked your energy. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and share today. I will be here the entire day. I'm looking forward to learning and talking and connecting with each of you all. Please stay in touch with me. Thank you.